Welcome. If you could give us your name and let us know who you are representing today, and then go ahead with your testimony.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Nathan Woodruff Stanley, Executive Director of the ACLU of Colorado. I speak in favor of House Bill 1264. It's become clear to the ACLU that this bill is both timely and desperately needed. There's been a rapid acceleration in the past 2 years of municipalities across Colorado criminalizing homelessness, by which I mean making it illegal to do everything necessary for survival when homeless, including the harmless act of sleeping or resting, by banning it pretty much anywhere. Having no home is not a crime, but it's difficult to find people in that circumstance who have not experienced ticketing, arrest, jail time, unaffordable fines, or harsh encounters with law enforcement, mostly just for existing in the wrong place and time, violating curfew or loitering laws, ordinances against camping, or even sitting or lying down, even bans on sleeping in your own legally parked car. Without a state law protecting peaceful rest and survival for those without a home, we will continue to see a race to the bottom as municipalities compete to see which ones can be the most hostile to people experiencing homelessness, hoping to drive them anywhere else, such as another nearby municipality. I could share countless stories and examples, such as our client David Madison, who was turned away when there was no more room in the shelters on a cold night in Boulder, arrested under a camping ban for using a sleeping bag. He could have legally slept in only his clothes at 11 degrees, but the sleeping bag counted as illegal shelter, so he was treated as a criminal. In Fort Collins, the ACLU found that police were arresting people under aggressive panhandling laws or silently holding signs, going far beyond the law itself as well as constitutional boundaries. In Wheat Ridge, laws against loitering on school grounds are being used to arrest people for sitting on park benches nowhere near a school. In Larimer County, there's been a spike in arrests around homelessness, and these arrests are costly. In a 4-year period ending August of 2014, taxpayers had to pay millions of dollars for Larimer County jails to hold people who are homeless or transient, for a total of 96,475 inmate days. There's much more I could say on this topic. I encourage you to read the report, No Right to Rest by Denver Homeless Out Loud, the research of the Denver Foundation, look at the cases of the ACLU and other research, and you will see that we need this law.
Thank you, Mr. Woodruff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Member in the corner. I was just curious if you could kind of go over with me the enforcement relief on the last page and how you might envision that working.
Mr. Woodruff Stanley.
The enforcement language that's in this bill originated in model legislation that's being looked at in Oregon, California, and other locations. What's most crucial about it is that there has to be some form of remedy. There has to be some sort of enforcement, or these laws might be simply ignored by municipalities. One of the problems is that right now municipalities are not only passing laws that criminalize acts of survival, they're going beyond even what the laws themselves say in their enforcement of those laws. So if there is not any form of action against them, then they might ignore the laws themselves.
Representative Monteith.
But I guess what I'm asking is, so if a person is ticketed for being homeless, that's when they can go to the courts to ask for a suit to be brought against the city? Is that how it works? And then could you just explain to me how procedure would work?
Mr. Woodruff Stanley.
Madam Chair, it would be when under this law an arrest is unlawful. In other words, where it's against an ordinance that violated this law, or it violates it goes beyond the scope of the ordinance. And that, which means that it would not cover things, for example, something that is obstructive would not be covered by this law. Actual criminal acts would not be covered by this law, but simply to be arrested for resting, for sleeping, in a place that is otherwise public and open to the public would be what would trigger action under the law.
Representative Primavera.
Madam Chair, do you happen to know, and you may not be the right person to ask this, but what does it cost to house someone in jail for a night versus housing someone in a shelter?
Mr. Woodruff Stanley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. at least in the Larimer County example, it was close to 100,000 nights in jail over a 4-year period that cost $8 million. So that should give you some sense of what it costs. I'm sure it's different in different localities, but cumulatively, we are spending many, many millions of dollars jailing people who are homeless, and that could be going to actually address the issue instead of simply putting people in jail.
Other questions, maybe? Representative Humphrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious, and I didn't ask this question of the bill sponsors, but I'll give you a crack at it as well, since you're on page 5, where we're talking about line 24, the right to occupy a motor vehicle, it's legally parked with the permission of the property owner. Would that mean that that vehicle doesn't have to be owned by that person? I'm not seeing that in the bill. So a vehicle could be parked where there aren't parking restrictions in a residential neighborhood, that sort of thing. And someone will be able to basically set up and live out of that car in that spot. Is that correct?
Mr. Woodruff Stanley.
Madam Chair, that's not my understanding, but I mean, breaking into a car that's not your own car would still be a crime, so it would not be something that you're talking. This is meant to address sleeping in your own vehicle, or it could be one that you were given explicit permission to by the owner.
Representative Humphrey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wasn't suggesting anybody be trying to break into anybody else's car, but if it was a car and they had permission to use it, and they were in a residential neighborhood, even if it wasn't their own car, if someone set it up for them, and this includes motor vehicles, includes trailers, that sort of thing, then that would be legal under this bill?
Mr. Woodruff Stanley.
Yes, Madam Chair, my understanding is that yes, it is you have explicit permission to use the vehicle as your own vehicle, and it is legally parked in a place where you can legally park that car. You could sleep in it. I would think that that is far preferable to having somebody out on the streets. In fact, the Denver Foundation found when they surveyed people who have experienced homelessness in their survey that the #1 place that people have spent the night when they have had to is, who have not been homeless before, was in a car. And it's the most rapidly increasing ordinance nationally to try to criminalize homelessness is against sleeping in your own legally parked car. So to me, that is one of the ones that's the most common sense provisions in the bill.
Madam Chair, thank you, sir. I know for public lands, national forests, state forests, BLM lands, there's camping areas, but there's limitations on times that anyone can stay and they can move to different camping spots. Representative Humphrey's example, would there be any limitation in time that a person could stay in that vehicle in that neighborhood, or a group of people in that vehicle in that neighborhood? And likewise, is there any limitation on time for being defined as homeless, or could you basically be there without limits?
Mr. Woodruff Stanley.
Madam Chair, this bill doesn't set a limitation on the time of a particular location or the definition of being homeless. Most people would like to get out of that situation as soon as they can, and the vast majority do. But to keep people trying to move actually hinders the process of getting to a better situation rather than helping it.
Representative Bontein.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Do you happen to know the municipalities that ban people sleeping in their cars around Colorado?
Mr. Woodruff Stanley.
Madam Chair, no, I don't. I could find that information for you, which are the ones. There's a whole list of ordinances that have been passed all around the state, and that's among them. But I don't want to give you incorrect information. But we can get that information for you.
Seeing that we've gone over our time a little bit, we'll make that the last question, and thank you very much for coming in and testifying today.